What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I don't think anyone would be surprised when it's like, hey, it's another publicly traded company who has some sort of hidden woke agenda program where they force their employees to, agree to the same politics as them and, all this kind of stuff. But in this particular case, it's Blizzard, the producers of World of Warcraft, Activision, and the producers of Call of Duty. Two companies that have come under fire over the past several years for having, Blizzard in particular, wild misbehavior, wild fraternity boy behavior, as they would call it. Yet they pretend for the market, because they want all those woke dollar investors, all that ESG money. They want to pretend like they care about diversity, equity, and inclusion when they really don't. They only use it as a band-aid. Anytime they screw up, they trot out another, rainbow character in Overwatch. And then, by the way, that whole community is so stupid. They just like, oh, yeah, cool. I forgot about the other thing. Now, granted, people are starting to call it out now more than they used to. But now there is an internal roadmap for success through gender equality and diversity at Activision Blizzard that has found its way to the internet. And we're going to go over all of that because I think it's pretty interesting after a super quick word from this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Shout out to this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Look, it's 2024. If you aren't using a VPN yet, you're completely missing out, and Private Internet Access is the one I use on all of my devices. If you've been following the news, you see that censorship, websites, apps are getting shut down in certain countries, all sorts of craziness. Well, a VPN helps you never have to worry about that. Private Internet Access also protects you from the prying eyes of hackers, internet service providers, and others that can view your personal data. Perhaps also just as importantly, Private Internet Access allows you to access region-restricted content from all over the world. Streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and more have different library options based on where you're located, and some shows simply cannot be accessed if you're not in the target location. Happens to me all the time. Many sports events also have regional blackouts. Well, VPNs can be a convenient way to make sure you're getting the content that you're paying for. Private Internet Access also allows you to protect an unlimited amount of devices all at the same time, so your entire household with a single subscription. And I've been working with Private Internet Access so long that I have an absolutely massive discount available to my viewers. Link in the description below. Get Private Internet Access today using my link. Save huge, protect your computers, access all the content that you've been paying for, and ensure that your internet is never censored. And this was shared to the interwebs from fellow content creator Yellow Flash, so shout out to him. He's that Yellow Flash guy on Twitter. This is the internal roadmap for Blizzard Activision, apparently. The Rundown 2.0. This is a 2023-2024 Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Report. Of course, the foreword saying at Activision, we care about all this crap. We're big. We're big DEI individuals, and a lot of these images are difficult to read because they're all stretched out. But let's take a look at some of what they're talking about and why, perhaps why we see it so generally, so prominent in all their creation. So why we track this data, right? Well, to create a global workforce and to foster a sense of belonging, we prioritize understanding our diversity. This ensures employees reflect on the global gaming community. I mean, okay, sure, fine, happy for you to do that. Then we look at our numbers by race and gender. Now, this is going to perhaps make some people laugh, but it's still 80% men that work at this company. 79% men, 20% women, 1% non-binary, which, by the way, in case you're doing math at home, that is 100%. And then they also have a category of less than 1% of something else. What that something else is, I don't know. And apparently they don't either. But, that's how this stuff works. That's how all this gender ideology nonsense works. You end up with different levels of this kind of stuff. And then they have their inclusive candidate experience. Then we go here. They have road shows, everybody. You got to look at the road shows because that's always important. The individuality of our studios have been folded into our approach in embedding DEI within our talent acquisition projects. Now, many of you have heard this term bridge, too, which is kind of the new DEI because people are becoming hip to when companies say DEI, that generally means their product sucks. So now I haven't seen it appear on Activision yet, but here we have. Then we have inclusive people experience. Once a candidate is hired, we are deliberate in fostering a strong sense of belonging from day one. So you hire somebody, okay, of a particular race or particular whatever ideology, this, that, or the other thing, right? And from the minute they're hired, according to Blizzard, from the minute they're hired, everything about them is about their skin color. So they have, embedded exposure to DEI and programming, ways to get involved from day one, modeling inclusive behaviors, promote belonging for all Activision employees. An example of our Activision, Blizzard, and King, which produces Candy Crush, by the way, is creating safe spaces to build community, as well as to support heritage months, marketing initiatives, and more. It's all performative, as it always is, right? Then they have building accountability to inclusion, launched individual employee diversity, equity, and inclusion goal setting to foster accountability, building community. By the way, none of this has to do with whether or not Call of Duty is any good, or Blizzard, World of Warcraft, or our Overwatch is any good. It's all just nonsense that is simply performative. It's a tax that the company has to pay. Okay, it's a tax that the company has to pay so that they can get global investment dollars. That's what it is. We've created programming to address employee needs for authentic conversations, learning opportunities, and inclusive professional development, fostering an environment of active participation. Whatever happened to the world, I don't know if you all remember this era. I know I do. When you showed up for work and then you just did your job, you did your whatever it is that you were hired to, you did that particular job, and then you went home, and then every other Friday or every Friday you got a paycheck, and then you did it again the next week, Then we have part 2, Inclusive Experience XP, Equity Mentoring Program. In 2023, we continued our XP, funny video game term, equity program for entry-level employees. Mentees build skills and expand their network, while mentors gain insights. And it's like every old white guy gets a black employee awarded to them to teach them how to be hip. Is that what this is? Hey, old white guy, here's a young black kid. Learn from them. It's like a slave they get. Here's an LGBTQ employee that we forcefully hired who has no real skills. Here, you're going to be a mentor to this old person. Senior leaders who can guide and inspire their mentees. They are enthusiastic about helping people connect their mentees to new opportunities and people. If you're a mentee, you need to be an entry-level employee looking to grow skills, network, and exposure. I mean, again, none of what we're seeing here has anything to do with, being good at your job, which is probably why most products that Blizzard and Activision have put out have been trash for the past 5 years. Inclusive game design. This is a big one everyone's getting pretty used to. This is when you have, every major video game on the planet has a strong female protagonist, a strong independent woman who don't need no man as the protagonist in the game. We're used to it. We get it. We're not surprised. We know. Okay. Inclusive game design is a key part of our DEI roadmap. We know that when games are designed to include as many people as possible, our industry will grow to embrace all people. That's actually not true, and I've seen no science to prove that. I've seen absolutely no evidence to suggest that that is, an automatic thing, that when you have a bunch of different colored people in a video game or a bunch of different kinds of people in a video game, right? I have not seen a scenario where that means that changes how gamers act at all. They have accessibility, which, by the way, accessibility is good. I think it's cool if somebody has like a physical disability, that there are ways that they can still enjoy video games. That's something that I think most people would agree with. So like the Able Gamers charity, this kind of stuff. Like, I want Ricky Berwick to be able to play video games. And look at him. He's a broken man. I want him to be able to play video games. That type of stuff, I think, is kind of like the inclusion stuff that we would all agree is a good thing. But, worrying about people's skin color or who they sleep with is not. Our inclusive game design council, ooh, you're on a council, with external experts, people like Anita Sarkeesian and Sweet Baby Inc., that's who they're talking about, educates and supports developers in creating inclusive games. This year, we collaborated with the UCLA Center for Scholars and Storytellers for workshops on gender identity, roles, stereotypes, and cultural appropriation in video games. These empower our teams to create inclusive characters. So they're worried about cultural appropriation in video games, not whether or not the game is good, not whether or not you have customer. None of these have anything to do with customer satisfaction, by the way. Activision's scope is around operations means infusing DE&I in design, putting a lot of effort and resources into ensuring authenticity in their games through the collab. It's not authentic when you have to be forced to do it. When you have entire groups of weirdos that have neo pronouns that are like, this is why you should never pay for an Activision game again. Like, they are spending your money on this nonsense. Inclusive creators, and we're celebrating black culture. How? Oh, we put Nicki Minaj in our video game. What? You think black folks look at that and they're like, oh, Nicki Minaj, cool. The 7 black girls that play Call of Duty feel really represented now by an industry plant with $1 million in plastic surgery and some white chick that writes her songs. Like, do you think black folks feel represented by that? Like, that some white woman thought of that. I guarantee it. This is so embarrassing for Blizzard and for Activision that they put this out and they think they really did something like that. Oh, well, we have supplier diversity, they say too. We only buy products from people, when we want to have a coffee cart on our stand, we make sure we buy it from only women-owned business. Does it mean the coffee's better? No, it doesn't actually have anything to do with the coffee. We just want to make sure a woman made it, and therefore it is authentically better. I mean, that's literally what they're saying. Well, we don't care if the coffee's any good. Did a woman make it? Because we want a woman to make all of our coffee. This is all embarrassing. This is why DE&I blows. That's why everything it touches blows. Play retro games. Play games from indie companies. AA games. Avoid giving any money to these idiots. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. And we'll talk to you again real soon.